Hello, this is Gavin Hamilton. I'm a trustee of the Lesbian and Gay Archives of New Zealand, Te Pūranga Takatapui o Aotearoa. And in this video, I'm covering part 2 of our QA steps for the correction of index card data in from the page. The particular focus of this video is on dealing with the page numbering. There are a number of kind of tricky conventions that are in play with the page numbering, and they particularly relate to the use of leaves as opposed to pages. There's an abbreviation, a lowercase l, which is shorthand for leaves instead of p for pages, and that presents some particular challenges for the OCR because it often gets recognized as a 1, a numeral 1, rather than a lowercase l. So I'm going to switch over to from the page now. I've got some examples lined up and we'll tackle those together. Okay, here we are in from the page. I've got 5 examples to work through across the top here. But before I do that, one of the things I might do is just show you on the LAGANZ information page about the Transcribathon. Got this link here, which will take you to a table where you can see where some of the QA steps have been allocated to particular from the page users. I've allocated a group of cards to that user. And if you're going to help us out with QA, it'd be great if you could get in touch and we'll work out together which would be a good set of cards for you to take on for QA. In this same area, I've got a link here to this PDF file, which sets out the QA steps. I've opened it up here in this separate tab. So it's important to read this before you take on the QA. And what we're going to be focusing on in this particular video is step number 4. Pages and leaves is lowercase l, not a 1. This is tricky. And I may incidentally cover 1 or 2 other things in relation to the QA in this video, but the primary focus is going to be on pages and leaves, but it also has some overlap with the conventions that we like to use for abbreviations. So round about here in steps 13 through to 16, we're talking about closing gaps around punctuation, commas, colons, and full stops. Yeah, down here at number 18. So we'll be working in this area as well, step number 18. Okay, let's have a look at the first example. So this is a card that's in the pamphlets series. So I need to get into correct mode by clicking on the correct tab. And I'll zoom in on this a little bit more so it's a bit easier to see. And of course, the first thing we do in a QA is to scan the line numbering. We're looking to check that things aren't breaking across multiple lines, and I can spot an example of that I've fixed. But the particular focus here was on that I wanted to focus on here is on the page numbering. So it appears to have been recognized in the OCR as 261. That's a numeral 1. If you have a look over here in the cards, you can see the difference in the font for a numeral 1 there in 1989. It has the pointy thing pointing sort of on an angle, whereas the L, the lowercase l, standing for leaves, has a horizontal tail at the top. So, and you'll notice here when I type an L beside a 1, the L is narrower and taller. So I need to correct that. 26L dot stands for 26 leaves of paper. I've just given this one a quick scan. I can't help myself. So I'm going to click save there. That's the first example done where we've corrected 26.1 should be 26L dot for leaves. Next example, got to get into correct mode, scroll down. Here we've got, oh, that's the same page, excuse me. So this one has in the page numbering, it's got 112p. So this, certainly matches the card. The corrector's done a good job here of, mimicking what they see in the card. But a standard convention here is to use p dot, or p full stop. So I'm just going to add that. Feel free to add the full stops when there's an abbreviation that's missing it, particularly in relation to the page numbering. This all helps establish kind of standard notation, and later on, there are going to be processes that we run when we're bringing this data into an online catalog. We're going to be doing a sort of a global find and replace on the p dots and maybe changing that to pages, the word pages, because that will be more descriptive. In these index cards, space is at a premium, so abbreviations are quite common in these index cards. So that's the main correction that's needed there, or rather, it's not a correction so much as a standardization. We're asking you to standardize on that notation for pages, p dot. I'll click save. Next card, get into correct mode. Scrolling down. Yeah, this one is unusual in that it's 18 and then a space, which is great, around the plus sign, and 4 p dot. So what that's representing is that there are two different sets of numbered sequences, or rather page numbering sequences in this document. So there's a set of pages that are numbered from 1 to 18, and then there's another set that are numbered from 1 to 4, but they can all be followed there with the p dots. That naming convention is fine. But here there is another related QA step, which is to bring this series information. Series information is always enclosed in brackets. We retain the brackets, but it should be forced onto a new line. So if you see that, something like that, some text in brackets after the page numbering information or after the illis and full stop notation for illustrations, bring that onto its own line. Click save. So that step, dealing with the series information, which is often in the same line as the page numbering in the QA process, is step number 7. So here's another example. I'll zoom in on that. Here the series information was following 7 leaves, full stop, and then there's series information in brackets. The correct thing to do is to force that onto a separate line. Okay, second example, or second to last example, I hope, is this one here. So I'm going to click correct. This one's not dissimilar to the one where we saw the plus symbol. This again is another way of indicating that there are multiple numbered sequences of pages in a document. But what we would like you to standardize on is to add some spacing after the comma. As a rule, wherever there's a comma, anywhere in an index card, it should be followed by a space. So that one there's no spacing on the card itself, but we can standardize in our data by introducing a space to follow a comma. So I'll click save there. Yep. Here's the last example. It's already in correct mode. This one, you can see, again, it's sort of multiple numbered sequences of page numbering, but the correction that's needed here is just to close that gap before a comma. There's a space after the comma, which is great. Space after the comma. And we've got 3L. So that has been correctly recognized as an L as opposed to a 1. And that's all looking fine. But the other little tweak I need to make there is just to close up the, so wherever there's a full stop, there should always be a space following that in these sort of these subject term areas. So that is the only fix that I want to make there to the page numbering. So that is 5 different examples of how we've fixed the page numbering information, and we've covered off what the distinction might be between leaves or the acronym, sorry, the abbreviation for leaves, which is lowercase l as opposed to a 1, numeral 1. So do be alert for that when you're doing your QA. So I'll just remind you about the index card QA notes PDF that's available from the LAGANZ website. There may be updates posted to this document, so do check the version number that you're working with and compare it with what's available here on the LAGANZ website. Anybody that's involved in QA, I will try and update by email. So that's a quick video about how to do one of the trickiest parts of QA, recognizing pages and leaves numbering sequences correctly. Thank you.